Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. So, in this video, I want to talk about the upcoming prison feature we have seen on the roadmap, and what we can expect in terms of gameplay for all involved. As always, a huge thank you to all my patrons for your continued support. If you enjoy my videos and would like to help from as little as $1 a month, it is very much appreciated. Be sure to follow the link in the description below. So with the CitizenCon schedule going up, I noticed one panel in particular titled Locked Up. The description for this panel simply says, get some early insight into prisons in the verse and life on the inside. In the latest roadmap roundup, it goes into a little tiny bit more detail as to what prisons will involve, and it states, we've made considerable progress on prison gameplay with the associated gameplay activities, missions and environments nearly complete. The 3.9 card on the roadmap will be broken up next week into a variety of different cards that accurately represent the development of making this gameplay loop possible. So there's lots happening here and lots to talk about. Also, this could mean that the latest Pillar Talk and 4.1 panel might come next week. Now, prisons have always been a part of the plan for Star Citizen, even as far back as 2014, where Chris Roberts answered a question on 10 for the Chairman, talking about how prisons would work. I will read it out, although the plan for this has changed somewhat, and it was even before procedural planets were even expected. So the question was, will there be specific missions related to being in prison, and will there be an entire prison planet, or at least a prison-specific space station? Now, Chris's answer to this is, let's say a bounty hunter captures his bounty and then just wants to troll them by keeping them in the hold and leaving them there for just, I suppose, shits and giggles. A way to stop this is once you have been placed in the bounty hunter's hold, so if you've been captured, it will then give you the option to accept the capture, and then it'll fade to black and cut to you arriving at a prison, while the bounty hunter would be left with an NPC to take to the prison and collect his or her fee. Chris Roberts gave space station prisons as the example and said that you would need to break out, but breaking out wouldn't be very difficult. Now, as I say, things have obviously changed somewhat since then, and thank God that they did. Last year's CitizenCon, Tony Zurevec spoke a little in regards to the most recent thoughts on prison gameplay, and what he said was that the purpose of prisons is to be an additional deterrent to committing crimes within lawful areas. We still have to work out what gameplay would be like while confined, but when in prison there will be interesting missions and characters which will in turn open up some interesting doors on the outside. There will be manual labour for reducing your sentence and penance if you are being bad. Captured or killed players with a bounty on their head will be deposited to a prison with their sentence determined by the severity of their offences. He also says that you could pay a fine to expedite your sentence, but I imagine that if you have been committing some heinous crimes, then either you will not be able to pay or the fee will be very extremely high. So it sounds as though they have a full plan for how they want the prison gameplay loop to evolve. This will tie in with the reputation system, the new law system, and even things like the new hand-to-hand system, which is coming in 3.8. It also expands the bounty hunting system, which is excellent for you bounty hunters. Now, I'll definitely create a prison scenario video based on what we now know, so do keep an eye out for that. But how I see this whole role just playing out is, firstly, once you are subdued or captured by the law or bounty hunter, you will then be placed in their holding cell and transported to a prison. Now, I understand the need for the ability to accept capture and be teleported to prison. However, I hope it is an optional choice, as I would love the option to just physically be stuck in the holds of the cell and taken to prison. One reason for this is you might actually get rescued if your friends know where you are and they can come and try and break you out. Plus, it's all just quite immersive, which is something that CIGs seem to want to strive for. Maybe there will be a time limit on how long you can stay in the hold before getting a respawn option, just in case the bounty hunter does want to troll you. I think that would be the best option. But once you arrive at the prison, I really hope that you will have to go through the whole process of being walked through the prison and given your clothing and then taken to your prison cell. Once you are settled, I see it kind of similar to how the Riddick game Escape from Butcher Bay goes. Sort of plays out, but far more in depth. So basically, if you wanted to find a way to escape, then you must figure this out, making friends with the right people, completing missions which will help increase your chances. It will not likely be easy, as Chris Roberts was saying back in 2014. or if you can afford to pay the fine and get out, then you can do that. Personally, as I don't intend on committing many crimes as I play on the good side of the law, I would like to serve my time and work in the prison performing these menial tasks to reduce my sentence, so manual labour. Examples of this, depending on where the prison is and what type of prison it is, could be things like FPS mining using the mining tool, or maybe fixing things, harvesting crops, amongst other options. Do be sure to drop your thoughts in the comments. But maybe even making a few friends myself and getting some tip-offs for potential jobs for once I get out. Maybe even earning some credits fighting inside against other inmates. Now, I get it that many people hearing this might be thinking that it all sounds quite boring, being stuck in a prison, not doing what you want to do. And to be fair, you are right. It's supposed to be boring. It's a punishment for losing and getting caught. The whole gameplay loop is pretty much possible now that they have introduced all these other aspects of separate mechanics, which then can be intertwined and just evolve. Now, the types and locations of prisons, we don't really know any just yet. We have ideas of what they've said. They will obviously vary quite drastically, but I expect first off it'll likely just be either a space station, prison with maybe a high level of security, or maybe a prison found on a planet like Microtech. It's a harsh, cold environment which would be ideal to have a prison to discourage would-be escapists. If they do escape, they would need some form of clothing to keep them warm and a transport to get them off the rock, especially once we get the survival and player status updates like temperature and needing to eat. I often hark back to the Riddick series. There was a prison called Crematoria, which was a triple max prison on a planet which I think it said it had a 52-hour day, which would basically scorch the surface of the planet and then become frozen solid by night. Having prisons on planets or moons similar to this would be very cool. Other options could be on an asteroid, in a cave, or even on board a ship that's just travels around, making it difficult for people to pinpoint a target so they can't really break people out. Talking of ships though, I will finish on a post which dates back to 2015. Now, it was during the Genesis Starliner's second Q&A in response to a question inquiring about possible variants for the Starliner. Here is what it said, and I do quote this. "We have done work on a prisoner transport variant which would be a good base for such a ship, and a great setting for Con Air in space." End quotes. Now, this was back in 2015, so there is a possibility of seeing a Starliner variant someday in the verse. Not likely due anytime soon, as we don't even have the original variant yet, but it is interesting nonetheless, and does divulge some more prison-related gameplay involving the transportation of prisoners from one location to another. Maybe from a prison to another prison, which could result in a potential prison breakout attempt. If you have a friend locked up and you know where they're being transferred to, on a particular day, you could set out to intercept the ship, disable it, and get on board and then break them out. On the flip side, if you are transporting prisoners, you may need to deal with this kind of scenario, so hiring escorts or maybe some security crew on board would be a good option. Anyway, I will leave it there for this video. We will get more information at CitizenCon this year on the 23rd of November, and I am super excited to hear all this. I will be sat in the crowd, listening to them talk about prisons. It is incredible that we are at this point for actually getting our hands on this type of gameplay, and if you want to play as a bounty hunter, I do suggest getting some practice in your Stalker or Hawk, as next year the time could come. Anyway, with that said, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more Star Citizen videos. Like the video if you love the Banu Merchantman, and follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers and come and hang out with us and talk all about what we have discussed today. Big thank you to all my patrons who allow me to spend this time creating videos like this one. Your support is very much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.